Welcome one, welcome all to the Tales of Tyria. Welcome one, welcome all to the Tales of
This week on Tales of Tyria, we've got a whole hacking guide, that is, how not to get hacked, brought to you by the president of ArenaNet himself. Then we've got a lot of questions and answers from you, our audience. Stay tuned, it's going to be a good show. Yes, welcome one, welcome. What happened? What happened to my... What happened? Where'd it go? Why you no like? Hang on.
Bridger, are you
oh,
lost
there
in
it is.
space?
I was lost in space. Now I'm back. We're at the Cloud Skimmer Tavern. Welcome one, welcome all to another exciting episode of Tales of Tyria right here. I am your host, Bridger, for your Guild Wars 2 news and discussion podcast here. Tales of Tyria is your source. Let's, don't forget to thank... Who is it this week? We got Darren donated this week. Thank you, Darren. Sent us a little donation. We do appreciate that. Helps us out a lot. We do have to pay for the hosting for the audio shows. That's about $30 a month, and your donations definitely help us with that. So thank you very much. Don't forget, guys, I'm going to say it now at the beginning of the show because I'm going to forget later. If you guys have anything you think we should talk about, send us emails and tell us what we should talk about, because your ideas give us ideas to talk about ideas. Feedback at talesoftyria.com is how you can get a hold of us. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Tales of Tyria. We are almost live from the Cloud Skimmer Tavern here, and let me introduce my co-hosts. On my left, and not quite centered, great.
Oh.
Welcome to the program, sir.
Hey, Bridger, how you doing? What's up?
I'm doing great. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know. I just mentioned it. Like, I haven't seen Bridger or anyone in a long
Got
time.
back from PAX and disappeared. Also,
Yep.
Freelancer, welcome to the show, sir.
How's it going, guys?
Not bad at all. I do want to take this opportunity to very quickly mention, next week, September 30th, there will not be a show. We're taking a week off. Don't want to get burned out. We have been doing this show. Do you guys believe this? Almost a full year. This is number 50.
Wow.
Every single week. Most of that time which the game was not out. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. Yes, we're taking the September 30th off for Hodrin's birthday. We're all coming to your house, buddy. I hope you got good beer. All right, so yeah, we're not going to do the show on September 30th, but we're returning on Sunday, October 7th for a big reunion annual happy first making it to everything. It's going to be great. It's going to be singing and dancing and all kinds
We
of
gotta
stuff.
we gotta try to get everybody on for that.
We really should. I have to
man.
create a new
Yeah.
graphic.
I will have to drag Kai into do our big podcast and get.
Yeah,
we
she
just
said-
have to have like a. You gotta make a special podcast screen that has like 8 slots or 9
Octobox.
slots on it.
Yes, the
So many
Octobox.
It's like a reunion episode.
We can
of, like,
pretend
some
we're
TV
CNN
show.
for a while. We have that many people
yeah.
on.
It's hard to believe, man. Like a year ago,
I know.
we Bridger, me and you were chatting in WoW, or I was in WoW. I was talking to you. Anyways, we'll reminisce.
Wait a
next-
minute. The
next-
first time we talked, you were playing World of Warcraft?
I was.
Now, was it actual
Our entire
play?
relationship is built on a lie. All right, let's move on. Guys, it's story time because I had some awesome stuff happen to me in Guild Wars 2 this week. I was in the Straits of Devastation on my way into Ore. I've been doing a lot of personal story. I've been playing with the wife in the lower level areas, and I've heard a lot of bad things about how bugged Ore is, so I'm kind of like, I don't want to go there until the stuff is fixed, and maybe they get rid of the botters and the farmers and stuff. Maybe it'll be better by the time I get there. So I've been doing personal story. I made another character. I'm making a Mesmer because I will point out, the show that we come back is the Mesmer show. We did Elementalist last week. We're going to try to do, class-based regular show, class-based regular show for the next couple of, 16 or so episodes until we get through all the different professions there. So made him an Elementalist, started playing Elementalist a little bit. We're going to do that the week that we get back. So, anyway, I'm in the Straits of Devastation, on my way into Ore. And what should happen? I'm underwater doing a dynamic event, and suddenly I'm playing, and A-Rob was there with me. We're fighting some Risen Quaggan, and this shadow goes across the top of us and over the water. And I was like, did you see that? He's like, yeah, I thought I was seeing it. Was that a dragon? I was like, I'm pretty sure that was a dragon. Like, a dragon shadow. Like, it was right above us. And we go, what the hell was that? So we went to the surface. There's dragons flying around fighting airships in the sky. Wow. Nobody told me that happened. That's awesome.
Yeah, that shadow, when I first saw it, it was, you look up and it's kind of the way he clips in and out, but like I couldn't see him and I'm like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And I was thinking some world boss was about to start, and yeah, you hear him roaring if you're near enough to him and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Oh, it was so cool. I mean, it's just like this fight in the sky. I don't think you can participate in it as far as I can tell, but it's still like awesome. I didn't expect it. It went right over us. I don't know if it has like a special thing where it goes right over people on purpose, but that was awesome. It kind of looked like Tequatl, the undead one. I think they use the same model. So, anyway, anything cool happen to you guys? Any good stuff?
I went to Queensdale to finish up that zone. I had not finished Queensdale yet, and I was waiting for my World v World queue. And there is a little lake that has a pier on it where 3 kids and a man is sitting on the pier. Have you ever been there, Bridger?
I think I know the one you're talking about, yeah.
And you can go up to this guy. Apparently the kids are telling him to jump in the water or something, right? And you can go up to this guy, and he's actually scared to jump in the water. And it just blew my mind. So I'm walking up, and I'm like, well, let me see what's going on here. And you talk to him, and you have an option to try to help him, like give him courage, or you could just push him. There's what do you call it? What do you call those little scale creatures that swim? I forget the name of them. They might be scale. I don't know.
I think they might be scale. Or
yeah,
drakes.
the scale with the K,
drakes.
and they're in the water, and so the option to push him says, if you don't drown, they're going to kill you anyway. Here you, and you just push them in. And it was like, and the kids all gasp, like they all cover their mouth. It was great. But I'm not a big RP or lore guy, but just running around completing the zone, I thought that was freaking awesome.
It's the little things, as they
It's
say.
the little things, exactly.
Great. What'd you do this week? Anything awesome?
I've been in Ore myself. I actually found Malchors Leap. Apparently
Malchor. Malchor has ruined it forever. Every time I see that, I go, Malchor's Leap? No,
Malchors Leap. And there's some guy just doing this on like the loading screen when you log in. Anyway, so I found out they have the place where he jumped off in lore or something like that.
I don't
And
know.
if you
I don't
go
know
there-
do you know anything about the backstory there? Because I don't know anything about it.
Apparently, this is what I read in game, which is fantastic. Is that he actually saw Dwayna's face, and it was so perfect he went crazy and jumped off of something. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Oh, so
So,
they named
yeah.
the whole thing after that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting myth.
And this like place where he jumped off, there's something on the ground, and you can interact with it. It's called goggles, and you can jump off and do like cool like Olympic style moves when you're jumping
like
off
the
of
ones from Lion's Arch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Exactly like that. And
There's water at the bottom. You're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he jumped to his death.
I think he did.
Oh, but now
But-
there's water.
Yeah, there's water, so it's K now.
It's
Except
okay.
there's a ton of like risen drakes down there that you have to deal with when you get down. But whatever, you deal with it. That was kind of just that little adventure going from the Dwayna Temple event to that. It's pretty interesting.
I also.
It's still driving me nuts. In Malchor's Leap, there's this little Asura lab in the water in the northwest corner. You know which one I'm talking about? It's kind of underwater into a mountain. If you pull up Malchor's Leap, the map, and again, I'm running around trying to do completion, and I just cannot figure out how to get into that freaking lab. Like, here I am, and I left my commander icon on. So, my mistake. I got trolled in chat. So I type out in chat, "Does anybody know how to get into this lab, this little Asura lab?" And everybody in chat starts saying, "You're the commander. Why don't you tell us?" and all this other stuff. I'm like, "Oh, here we go." And it didn't help. I was in an overflow server too. I still haven't figured out how to get in there. And it was that's it right there.
This one right
and
here?
it's no, in the northeast, that little island there. Or
Oh, okay, right
northwest.
there.
Yeah.
Right there. Interesting.
And that whole thing underwater, there's this giant Asura lab. It has a portal there. I have no idea where the portal goes, but there's a portal. There's a lab. It's all underwater. If you just swim on the north side of that island, you'll see it. It just looks awesome, and I just wish I knew how to get in there. There's seems to be 2 doors that open, I guess, for an event or some sort, but. I don't know. It's just those little off in the middle of nowhere areas. My storyline didn't bring me there, and I just saw it, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. How do I get in there? So I'm going to figure that out. That's my personal quest while I'm waiting for World v. World keys.
Other people are saying they swim around there like 3 times trying to figure out how to get in. They can't get the waypoint either.
Guilty as charged. I did too. I swam around. There's like a rich mithril vein there. And
now,
like,
wait a
okay,
minute. Wait a minute.
nice,
Somebody told me that there's something, I don't know if it's a point of interest or a waypoint you can only get if you go through your personal story. Is that the one? Maybe?
Maybe.
There's a thing that's closed off, except in a particular mission. It's like level 76 of your personal story that lets you into that area, and that might be it if nobody else can get in.
Yeah. Well, if it requires rolling a different character story, that's... Yeah,
no, somebody else is saying it's Fort Trinity is the one I was thinking of, I guess. As the point of interest that you can only do if you go through your personal story. I think I know the one you're talking about, actually. Yeah. It's sealed otherwise. Okay.
Well, that's Fort Trinity, yeah, and it has that little area on the southern side of the fort, because I remember getting it, where as you're defending Fort Trinity, you pick that one up. But, no, this is actually in Malchors Leap. Okay. There's a portal there and stuff, and... and it's not just the portal that's cool. It seems like there's a whole network, like it's an entire lab.
Yeah, somebody in the chat says it opens with an event. So maybe you have to wait for a dynamic event or trigger a dynamic event somehow.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it up and look at it. But it's my I find that as I'm waiting for World v. World cues, I'm opening my eyes to all the different lore in the middle of nowhere. And then the jumping puzzles, Bridger. Have you done the jumping puzzles? Like, have you looked at your achievement tab and looked at all the various jumping puzzles?
I got one today, actually, when I was playing with A-Rob in the Straits of Devastation. There's one with a... I think it's a point of interest and a skill challenge. No, it's a vista and a skill challenge at the top of it. And you can get to a certain point, and it's like, you finish the jumping puzzle. But in order to get the vista and the skill point, you have to keep going all the way to the top. It's the Vizier's Tower is the one that it is. I guess it's the Vizier that caused the whole catastrophe in Ore to begin with. That's the tower where he was. And when you go up there, there's a whole bunch of, like a couple of books. And the skill point is actually, the skill challenge is actually a book that you read that talks about the Vizier and was he really crazy and all this other stuff. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I did a jumping puzzle in the Savari starting zone today, and I got all the way through the one where it starts in the middle of that water area. You jump up the rocks.
The floating rocks one.
Floating rocks. And so I get in there, and I get to the jumping puzzle finally, and then I jump off. And as I'm jumping off, somebody whispers to me and says, there's 2 achievements there. If you would have kept going, you would have gotten a second one.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, wait, are you kidding? Are you just trolling or what? And he's like, no, you need to go all the way back up and keep going. And so I did. But,
you have to, it's like you get to the Nightmare Court area, if I recall correctly. That's the secondary one.
Yeah, but I'm having a good time, so... That's my stories, Bridger.
There we go. Calvin Forrest. This is the one right here. It's got this weird spirally thing for some reason.
Yeah, that's where it starts.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. I ran into that one just naturally running around the zone. Much easier to find that one than it is to find the, what's it called? The one from, now I can't remember the name of it. The one in Metrica Province is the one that's more difficult to find. I don't even know if there is one in Queensdale.
There's one in, I think, almost all the starting. I know there's one in Wayfair. And I think there's one in Plains of Ashford.
Wayfair is one that I didn't really do a lot. I never liked the Norn zone, but I'm going to make... I have a Norn warrior that I'm going to actually level up in Wayfair Foothills all the way. Like, when I was playing the betas, I actually leveled up my Norn somewhere else after I started a little bit because I was going to meet somebody else in Plains of Ashford or something like that. Anyway, let's move on. So, we had a bit of feedback from last week when we were talking about the trading post, and we were talking about how people were selling at a very, poor choice cost. This might have been 2 weeks ago. I think this is some feedback from that, where they didn't realize the 10% extra that gets taken off, and they were selling at, vendor price, which means they were actually losing money. So, somebody said, I will admit I'm guilty of selling items at vendor price in the trading post. I just didn't realize how exactly it works. Aside, before we finish, that's not his fault. ArenaNet never really indicates that there's a secondary price being taken out when your thing sells, which is a little bit a little poor UI in my opinion. But moving on, most people just want to quickly post something up so they can click sell and whatever price already states. How do you recommend we price items? It's not really easy to tell how much silver or gold something is worth. This is from X the Manimal. Okay, interesting name. So what I usually do is for greens and blues, I will actually right now I'm salvaging all of them because I'm trying to get my monthly, and you have to salvage like 400 things.
Oh man!
And because I started selling my blues and greens and making more money that way, I'm not salvaging anything except the salvage items. Ugh, that's a pain in the ass. But anyway, so for blues and greens, I always check the auction house and find out, are they selling at vendor price? If they're selling at least 20% or 25% higher than vendor price, then I'll sell them at the auction house. I'll usually undercut the lowest sell order by 1 copper or something like that, just to get it out of my inventory and get it out of there quickly. But if it's a rare, obviously, if it's yellow or exotic, then you want to, you know, get it for the Ecto. You want to salvage it. But otherwise, if it's close to vendor price, I just vendor it. I don't even put it up there at vendor, you know, at anything higher. It's not worth waiting for it to come up. I don't know. Freelancer, your thoughts?
I salvage everything, but I don't look at it as just money. I look at it as the achievement points and stuff as well. I made a lot of money just recently when they took down the trading post. That seems to be a really big dynamic I think more people should take advantage of. When the trading post goes down, a lot of things change. I made at least 150 gold just when that trading post came up. Salvaging in general, it's not just weapons like blue weapons and green weapons and rares that you have to salvage. I mean, some people say just sell them directly to vendor, and that's fine. You know, they can do what they want. But I also find that playing the markets with the salvageable items like the valuable ore, the discarded garments, the moldy bags, you know, the large bags, stuff like that, those kind of consumable items, and I consider like the discarded garments also consumable. That's a very real market as well. That's how a lot of people, including myself, made tons of gold. I've made 100, 200 gold just off of discarded garments alone. So if you don't know what those are, like a chunk of valuable ores, it's like, I think it's a chunk of valuable ore or something like that, breaks is the highest tier of like metal scrap, so to speak,
okay,
that you can pick up and salvage and gives you a chance of getting orichalcum. Well, orichalcum runs from anywhere to 2 to 4 silver, sometimes 5 silver, sometimes 6 if I start manipulate it a little bit. But you figure that the chance of getting one of those, you know, is worth a certain amount. You basically break it down by, if I salvage 10 of these items, how many of those 10 items will I get orichalcum from? Or if it's discarded garments, my spreadsheets basically say if I break down 100 discarded garments at 50 copper apiece, am I going to get 20, 30, 40 gossamer? How much does that gossamer sell for? So I'll give you an example here, 1 second. So my spreadsheet right now has just latest prices from this morning, just updated it, says that gossamer is going for anywhere from 4 silver to 4 silver and 20 copper. Now, I can buy discarded garments right now anywhere from 75 to 85 copper a piece. They break down, there's roughly a 27% chance, this is from salvaging about 5,000 of them. There's about a 20 to 25 to 30% chance of getting a piece of gossamer from it, 1 piece of gossamer. That's worth 4 silver, you know, and you break all that down. So salvaging is a big deal. A lot of people don't realize in the marketplace that when you're buying weapons, sure, you can buy low and sell high, but you can also look at the weapons, look at the items like discarded garments and stuff, and there's tons of them. It's not just garments. And look at what is the price of the materials if I salvage it. And then you get into all these theory crafting about, do I use like a master salvage kit? Do I use a mystic salvage kit? And I could say one thing, if to help anybody right now listening, I'll say one thing. When I'm breaking down discarded garments, or chunks of valuable or whatever it might be.
Any of the salvage items.
Any of the salvage items. Well, no, not any of the salvage items.
Well, any of the highest tier salvage items.
No, we're wrong. If I'm breaking down
Okay.
any item that isn't a weapon or armor, I use crude salvage kits because they give the exact same chance to get Gossamer or Orichalcum than a Mystic salvage kit or a Master salvage kit.
So you're
I
talking
found that
about
out the hard way after salvaging about 2,000-3,000 things, and then saying, you know what? I don't have. I think I was out of gold. Like I put everything out on the market at that time, and I only had a couple silver, so I bought a few crude salvage kits to burn through it so I can log off. I started salvaging the rest of my discarded garments, and I was getting the same amount of Gossamer, and it was just that moment, that eureka moment, where I was like, wait a second. And then I did the math on what it cost to make a Mystic salvage kit, 250 charges versus a crude, and ended up from now on, like anything, when I see a deal with discarded garments, etc., I will break it down with crude, because it gives me the same amount. And I didn't realize that until...
So you're talking about
Yeah.
salvage, the things that are labeled salvage item. Things like
Right.
scrap metal, discarded garments.
Anything that says salvage item, I have 100%, 120% confidence to tell anybody that it makes no difference whether you use a Mystic salvage kit or a crude or any tier salvage kit. You will get the same chance of getting the better items out of it. 100%. I mean, I've literally salvaged thousands of these items already, and it just blows my mind. And then I think back of how much money I wasted on buying Mystic salvage kits. Getting the gems and getting the and burning through all that.
That's my experience.
I'm thinking
also.
like, man, I wasted like 10 gold. That's a big deal for me because 10 gold could have turned into 25. If I had it. But yeah, I don't know, because if you read the description, it says 10% chance of getting better items.
Yeah, and I have no idea
It
what
also
that means.
says-
It's not descriptive enough,
It's not,
What does it
right.
mean?
And it's so I started looking into it, and I'm thinking, if I'm getting roughly a 25% chance, maybe I'm overshooting it a little bit. Maybe I am getting just about a 10% chance and I'm just getting lucky or something. Maybe that 10% of getting rare materials means just that, like with the Mystic and such. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but I'm just throwing that tip out for guys that Mystic salvage kits are great. They're great for weapons. They do work like they say they do for like rare weapons. You want to break down rare weapons with Mystic salvage kits and the Black Lion ones because you will get the ectoplasm from it. Crude does not do that. You won't get that from Crude. But when it comes to items that say salvage, just a salvage item, use the basic bottom tier salvage kit.
Yep. That's definitely a good tip there. Great. When you sell stuff to the trading post, do you have any? I mean, obviously, Freelancer does all this research, and that is commendable. But I don't have time for that. What is your strategy?
Oh
I don't have
man,
time for that.
I'm about to embarrass myself heavily. Oh man, I think I might have put stuff up there that's listed under vendor price.
You can't
throughout,
do that
like,
though.
This is before they put like the anti.
The thing you have to put it under vendor price.
So like then I realized that, and now it tells me like right in front of his face like, hey, you're an idiot. Put it higher. I'm like, all right, I can do that.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. Now,
usually I've started searching for the item and like seeing where all the buy orders lie, because I'm willing to like let it sit there for like an extra day or two, but I can make like a couple more silver off it. That's the way I see
exactly.
it.
For the expensive items, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah,
Disaster 96 now in chat, he's saying, oh, but it has the listing price right there when you go to sell it. What are you talking about, Bridger? This is going back to my earlier comment. But that's the thing. The listing price is 5% of your sell price, and that gets taken by the trading post whether your item sells or not. If you pull it off the trading post later because it didn't sell, then that 5% is gone. If it sells, a further 10% gets taken out of your winnings, your actual amount, and it doesn't tell you that it's taken that out. That's the deceptive part, but I don't think it's purposefully deceptive. I think they just never put it in the UI.
I posted a screenshot for you, Bridger. That's my achievement tab, 142 achievement points on Agent of Entropy, which means that I've salvaged 28,400 items.
Wow.
So many items.
So
Oh,
if
because
anybody's
Agent of
wondering-
Entropy just goes over and over again.
Right.
I
so,
see.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's
you get
140
2 points
times
for every
200.
200. And
Wow.
so if anybody's curious, like, this guy's just talking, he hasn't really salvaged all that. Well, there you go.
That's a lot of achievement points.
I think I'm qualified to give information about salvaging.
You got
a lot
the
of
Master
clicking.
Salvager a long time ago.
Oh man.
Oh man, you got 7 Master Craftsmanship. Oh man, that's crazy. All right. Anyway, we've got a show to continue here. So I hope that helped X the manimal. But like I said, I mean, I just kind of go with what's on the, like Great said, I'll look at what they're currently selling for. I'll right click on an item and choose buy just to look at what the different sellings are. And if there's like, one thing at 20 silver, and then 30 trying to sell it at 28 silver, I'll put it at like 27.99 rather than list it at the 20. Like taking that extra second to check and see if there's a big gap between the current lowest seller and the next one can actually make you a couple of silver if you're talking about expensive items. So I usually do that for the more expensive stuff. For the stuff that's like a silver and change, you're not going to make that much on that most of the time. I usually just, go and throw it in there for whatever, but I don't have the time to. I'll just, you know what? I just don't have the time.
I've been doing a bad thing where I just vendor everything.
Vendor everything?
Vendor all the things. Salvage what's salvageable.
That's actually better than salvaging all the things, I realized. Because I salvaged all the things thinking the materials were going to be more valuable than the item, and no, that was not the case. So until I got to about level 60, I was just salvaging everything, which means it was really easy for me to get my first monthly that first week of August. But then I was like, I'm poor as hell, and I started just selling all my blues and greens instead. Yep. And I'm like, this is way better. All those stupid sigils and runes that I kept are garbage and nobody wants them, so they're selling for 10 copper or some stupid number.
Right now I'm dealing with the ecto market and the lodestone market. It's pretty crazy like how volatile it is, but like with charged lodestones, like I'm sitting on 400 or 500 of them and selling those back and forth. Ecto, I'm probably sitting on 1,000 or more, just trading them back and forth. It's the big time markets right now are really in disarray because everybody's looking for those legendaries, right? So we should have an episode on that one of these days, the legendary process. And
absolutely.
What is more attainable. I think that'd be a fun episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And for those of you that want to know, we're gonna talk about all the spoilers. We're going to talk about personal story. We're going to talk about ore and everything that happens at the end game in the dungeons and things like that. The show after the Mesmer show. So that's in like 3 weeks. So you have those 3 weeks to finish your personal story. Because I know there's people out there that still haven't finished. That they're still going through the personal story, haven't even been to ore yet. I'm partially in that camp. One of the reasons that I was staying behind is because they said they were going to buff those rewards that you get. And I was like, I don't want to finish that and find out that I got some stupid, crappy little green. And you're supposed to get like this exotic from finishing your personal story, but it turns out they're going to retroactively give that to people who already finished their personal story, etc. So we're going to have that show in 3 weeks, so that's how long you've got to take care of that. Anyway, let's move on. In the news this week, there's not a whole lot, but there was an amazing article by Mike O'Brien talking about account hacking. This thing is incredibly long and in-depth. Did you guys read through this?
Yeah, I gave that a look. I love his picture.
Yeah. I'm reading all these things about account hacking. It hasn't touched me. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But you know what's driving me nuts, Bridger? Friggin' teleporting botters.
Yes, I've
heard botting wasn't bad enough. Now I'm walking around and seeing botters teleporting all around the map, so they don't have to actually walk up to mobs.
I've heard of that.
Sorry, I interrupted there. Go ahead.
You know what really grinds my gears?
I had to spit out because I saw it today too, and I'm like, I'm just watching these butters, and like yeah. Anyway, that's another rant, another time.
Are they? I want to clarify one thing. Are they like teleporting via waypoints, or are they just like instantly like I'm?
No.
They're using.
It may be like a speed hack that moves so fast you just don't see it, but they are literally in one general area, teleporting back and forth to the wolves and stuff and centaurs, and just it happens instantly. And it's always a warrior or a thief because they can burn down the mob fast enough.
And I read a post where somebody was like, I reported the same guy for like 3 days in a row. Why isn't ArenaNet doing anything? Blah, blah, blah. And somebody responded and said something along the lines of, well, what they're doing is they're probably trying to track all the bots that they have. They're probably going to do one mass ban of thousands and thousands of accounts rather than banning them one at a time, because if you ban them one at a time, the botters will learn exactly what is giving them away. as soon as they, are,
That's
okay,
smart.
we're gonna do this new thing to see if that, that apparently, will be caught by their system. It's the same reason that Valve's, that was one of the big things when Valve anti-cheat came out for their games. They said, one of the things that they're gonna do is they don't ban you right after you use an exploit. They don't ban you right after you use cheats. They ban, up to a month afterwards, some random interval, so that nobody knows exactly what it was that got them banned from that particular, server or game or what have you. So I think that makes sense. Going back to the hacking, because this is tied directly into the botting, and he makes a great case for this whole thing. But this is a really, really interesting article. If you guys haven't read this, it's guildwars2.com. It's the blog post for this week. It's September 21st, 2012. It goes into really deep detail about what they are seeing from their side, from people trying to get into accounts. And what Mike O'Brien says here, this is the president of ArenaNet. He says that the hacking is not people using dictionary attacks. It's not people using, common passwords or anything like that. What it's doing is it's using combinations of usernames and passwords that it's got from other things. For example, you sign up for Joe Schmo forum, at Joe Schmo's Guild Wars 2 forum, which hasn't been updated in a while. So the UBB interface has an exploit that allows hackers to get in and steal data. And so they steal the information off of that forum. Now they take all of that information. They get that from, they aggregate those logins from all kinds of games, people that don't even have Guild Wars 2, and they try every combination in here, and they get hits a lot of the time, because there's 2 million people playing Guild Wars 2, which means that a lot of those things that they got are going to actually be actual accounts in Guild Wars 2, especially if you go to places that are very MMO, like things like that. And of course, Blizzard had their break-in a while ago where a bunch of account names got stolen. So what they do is they have usernames and passwords that they've stolen from other places that are less secure than ArenaNet. And lots of people use the same username and password everywhere they go, even the low security areas like forums from a fan site. Those are not secure as you might want to think they are much of the time. Now, places like the Curse Network and things like that, those are probably more secure, but you still don't want to chance it. You don't, if there's one thing you never do, you never make your email account the same password or your MMO account, because both things are actively targeted by a lot of people. So this is very interesting. He goes through a lot of this stuff. He links to a ton of different articles about database, websites, databases being, corrupted, and how they're trying to deal with it with email authentication. He suggests Gmail two-factor authentication as his thing. Now, I'm not going to go through all of that, but here's what they're going to do in the future. They have these usernames and passwords that have been being tried but don't have a Guild Wars 2 account. And then what they're doing is they're blacklisting all the possible passwords that don't yet have those accounts. So let's say Joe User at AOL.com doesn't have a Guild Wars 2 account, but a combination of his username and a password was tried by these hackers to get online. Well, what they do is they collect all of those things that were bad, wrong accounts, and they blacklist all those passwords. Nobody is able to make that as a real password because the hackers already have it. And now, if the hackers try to use a password that somebody else if somebody's account is hacked and they've already got that password, they make that password blacklisted in the future. So not only are they retroactively making it so new accounts don't get hacked, and this is their number. The rate of account hacking was 1.5% for new accounts. Their account would already be hacked because the hackers already had it from a forum or something. Now that the blacklist in place, they try tens of thousands of combinations, 20, and let's say 7,000 of those aren't real Guild Wars 2 accounts. Well, now Joe User at AOL.com gets Guild Wars 2, goes in there, and finds out he can't use his regular password because ArenaNet won't let him because they know the hackers already have it. They're preemptively preventing him from using his normal password because the hackers already have it. They said it went from 1.5% to 0.1%. That's a pretty big reduction. I mean,
It's really good.
damn. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then for people that have accounts that the password seems to be known, they're basically just sending them an email and saying, you need to change your password because the hackers have it, so change it now. It's cool. And then they link to the XKCD comic strip. I love it. I love it. This is one that I think we were talking about before, about how you have these long complex that are relatively easy for a computer to guess and hard to remember, versus this very long string of things that are hard for a computer to break through but easy for you to remember because it's just 4 words. So very, very cool. Definitely check out this article. He goes through a lot of stuff and then says, the root cause is people, selling gold, so don't buy gold except from the gem store, which of course is a self-serving thing, but it's also true. If you don't want botters and you don't want people farming in ore and selling the gold, don't buy gold from illegitimate places.
What's hilarious also is that the gold sellers, the ones you see spamming Lion's Arch, they sell gold for prices higher than what it would be to buy gems and convert it to gold.
That's what I've heard. How are they making money?
I've done the math. Like, it's really bad. Like, they're desperate. They're desperate as it gets. And
how are they making money? I don't understand. Maybe they'll go away if they stop making money. Maybe they're just pouring money into this, expecting it to. I don't know.
Eventually, it will. I mean, if you hit these people hard enough, they're gonna go away, and this has happened in other games. Like, I think I don't know how it is with WoW, but I think Blizzard did a big number on a ton of like gold farming and botting stuff way back in like BC, and they banned like thousands of accounts that were all related to that, and they haven't had that big of an issue for gold farming. It's always been there and like gold selling, but I don't think it'll be as bad for Guild Wars 2 because they have the gem store, and people are just gonna be like, oh, I'll just buy it from ArenaNet. It's easier that way.
There's that, and every time they crack down on hacking. Oh, the other big thing from that article, by the way, is people have been asking for like an authenticator for their smartphone for Guild Wars 2. They said they're going to just use Google Authenticator. They're going to use the Google Authenticator app to let you do a 2-factor authentication into Guild Wars 2 and protect your account that way. And they said that is going to roll out probably in the next 2 weeks. Awesome news.
It's good to hear.
I use Google Authenticator now for something else work-related, and it's very convenient. Like, if I ever log in with any device besides like my desktop, which has it saved, it'll send a little message to my cell phone and with a a 6-digit password, and you just punch it in. It's nice and easy, and it's quick.
Yep,
So
I use the 2-step authentication for my email now. I was worried that I would have to pull out my phone every single time I wanted to, log in like I had to do with my Blizzard authenticator, but it just saves your IP address and says, okay, if you're logging in from that IP again, then it's definitely you. So that's fine. So my work computer, my home computer, I don't have to worry about the 2-step authentication. If I log in somewhere else, then I just pull out my phone and bam, it sends me a text message. I got it. It's no problem. You don't even need a smartphone for that. It's great.
Guild Wars 2 already does that with the email, basically.
Right, and that's another thing that he points out in the article is the only people who are having their accounts hacked are the 1/3 of people who never verified their email address, and thus they can't force you to do email authentication if you've never verified it. And B, the people who use the same username and password for their email as their Guild Wars 2.
Oh,
now,
man.
That number has to be going down over time as all of these hacking things happen. There's only so many accounts out there that are unsafe, and with all this awareness going around, there has to be less and less accounts that the gold farmers can use, I have to imagine.
Yeah, it's when we get this first mass wave of bans, I think we'll see a huge change, because what they're I'm wondering, because what they're also probably doing is tracking who the gold sellers are actually selling to. We all like to think like, okay, well, it's cheaper to buy gems and convert it to gold, but there are still people that are buying this gold, and they don't know any better, or they're just looking for a quick way to win. And is ArenaNet going to ban those people too, do you think? I mean, are they going to ban all the people that bought gold? Because every MMO treats this differently.
That's true.
I'll give you an example. In WoW, if you buy gold, you will be banned. In Aeon, I've known people who bought gold, and they were given a warning. So the big question for me is, are they going to go all the way, or are they going to stop at a certain point, like they did with the exploiters, the weapon exploiters, and say, well, we're not going to go that far? I mean, I'm curious of where they're going to draw the line on removing the entire issue. Is it going to be the people that bought the gold too, or just the people that are farming it?
I think they're going to go. I think they're going to look at how much gold is being bought and stuff like that, and it will be like almost very case by case in a lot of ways. And they're probably going to ban people who bought gold. So if you bought gold illegally, you might be in a bit of trouble if you were buying like, oh, let me just buy like 300 gold or something like that via this website, which is totally not legit at all. And you're probably going to have your account stolen in like the next few days, so watch out for that.
I love the ones that say power leveling in like 72 hours, 1 to
man.
80, 72 hours.
Just give away your account at that point.
I mean, you if you wanted to, and it's like $250 is the last spam message I saw. I mean, we had we had TL members, and I saw other guilds. We were not the fastest. I mean, it is not hard to level 80.
No,
and why
if
would
anything,
you need
it's too fast almost.
It really is. And why? I mean, what are you possibly gaining by buffing yourself to level 80? In previous games, you would gain, you'd be a higher level. You could stop all the lobies. Well, PvP, you can't do that. World v World, you're buffed up anyway. Matter of fact, a lot of lower level players are stronger than level 80s that aren't geared. I mean, you gain nothing. I don't get it. But then again, maybe the gold farmers and those guys advertising, they don't get it either. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think there might be a situation where, like you said, if they do a mass ban of all the bots and all the farmers and stuff that are breaking the TOS and selling the gold and things like that, they might also do one giant warning, like send an in-game mail to everybody who bought gold, or some kind of in-game pop-up or some kind of message to their account saying, listen, we know you bought gold. This is a warning. You're suspended for, 48 hours or whatever. Don't do it again, because the next time we're serious. And because to me, you have to make it risky, because the only way to cut this whole thing off is to cut off the demand. That's exactly one of the things that the article addressed. The root cause is people buying gold from these people, and therefore there's an incentive, a real-world monetary incentive, to go out and create bots that farm and ruin other players' experiences, for example. And hacking, exactly, is another. That's reason to hack accounts. A real-world monetary reason to do that. So if you can curve the demand away, for example, okay, even if buying from this illegitimate gold seller was cheaper than buying from ArenaNet, even if I could get twice as much gold for the same amount of money, if there's a chance I could lose out on my $60 investment in the game, I'd probably just buy gems. That's the thing. You have to make it risky for people to buy gold in order to actually cut off the money supply to these botters. So I think that should be probably their policy in the future. But I think they probably should have a wake-up call to the entire community as a whole. Don't do this, Yeah,
the wake-up call should be to players also that you've already bought the game, and which a lot of people, 99.8%, I think was the poll from IGN, do not read the little thing that's where you scroll down real quick to create your character, And in that agreement, it specifically says they could shut down your account anytime they'd like if, through a variety of reasons, exploiting the game, ruining game experience. It's all legal speak, and the bottom line is, it's not. It's almost even more so. It encourages them as developers to get rid of players that exploit and we'll just say take the shameful way out, because you're not paying a subscription. You've already given ArenaNet your money, and for them at this point, it's looking out for the rest of us that are playing the game legitimately, and they. I could see in maybe a WoW perspective how they would think, oh man, this guy, if we ban this guy, we're potentially losing $15 or what is it, 15, $20 a month?
15 a month,
15,
unless, thereabouts.
You think about it from a developer standpoint or Blizzard standpoint there, if we ban this guy who has a history of playing with us for the last 3 years, and he could potentially be playing with us through Mists of Pandaria and all these other expansions, then we lose X amount of money over time, and expansion money and this and that. ArenaNet doesn't have to think like that.
They can prioritize the legitimate player's experience, because they still have an incentive to try and keep us playing, because they want us to buy gems in the gem store. We want us to get their cool new stuff that they want us to buy the expansion, etc., etc. So it's just not directly tied. They don't care about banning the few people. Well, they might care, but they can care a little bit less about banning the few people that are ruining the experience for everyone else. If Ore is filled with teleporting, botting exploiters, a lot of people are going to get there and go, well, I'm going to come back when it's fixed, ArenaNet, and I'm probably not going to buy gems if I'm not playing your game. So there you go.
We've seen ArenaNet will say, oh, we're not going to sell the game anymore because if we have too many people online, it's going to ruin the experience. They've done that. They've legitimately have stopped selling the game digitally for like a week or whatever before they got, I guess, more infrastructure on the back end. And now they're reselling it again. So like they will take those crazy steps to make their experience in service, they love that word service, better.
Exactly.
And keep it consistent and like making sure everyone's having a good time.
Exactly. Did I tell you guys I found... Well, this is spoilers. For anybody who hasn't read the Ghost of Ascalon book and you don't want to be spoiled, skip ahead like 2 minutes. I found the grave of Killeen, the character from the first book, when I was going through the Fields of Ruin outside Ebonhawk. And that was kind of a very sad experience. Like, I was just going around and I found this glade, this meadow, in the middle of the whole, like, dragon brand thing, and there's this cairn of stones, and there's, like, a priestess standing next to it, and you go and you talk to her, and she's like, oh, you don't know this is the grave of a legendary hero who helped stop the war between the Char and the humans, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, really? And they finally go, and she says it's Killeen. I was like, oh, no, I love that character. Why you make me cry? So I'm going through the Fields of Ruin, right? Because I'm playing my wife. We've got to see Killeen's grave. And then I come across Ebonhawk, which is this amazing, amazing city. But, you know, I noticed something about it, and it gets me a little frustrated. And when I get frustrated, I got to vent. And when I vent, it's called a Bridger Rant. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Doing it right this time. What we have here is Ebonhawk. And something you might notice if we take a look at Ebonhawk here with the 500-foot walls is a 20-foot gap in the wall where a door should be. You know, in case you have to actually shut it to keep the enemy out. This, by the way, is the structure, the city, the last human city in Ascalon. The Ebon Vanguard, the elite of the elite, held off the Char for 250 years. 250 years, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this amazing looking structure. This thing held off the Char for 250 years. Okay, it looks great. You get a little closer, still looks great. Wait a minute, where's the door? Did they take off the door? Did they just choke this thing with the dead? Whenever the Char show up, pile the bodies back up, boys. Did they pull a cart in front of it and the Char said, well, I guess we can't get in that way? What the hell? This is the back entrance. That doesn't have a door either. You got two massive gaps in the... Here's a door. This is a door. You know where this door goes? The Crystal Desert. Because apparently the Char, who have been camping out and perfecting their siegecraft specifically to get into this stronghold, they're gonna ignore the big 25-foot gap, but something in the Crystal Desert needs to be kept out. I don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what else? To me, this just speaks, like I said, it can't possibly be that somebody said, you know what, this is staying open. It can't be. I refuse to believe that that opening was there for 250 years. Instead, it must be some military mastermind who decided to just, the door's coming off. It's a ceasefire. They said they weren't going to attack, so let's pull it down. I mean, must be the same guy that decided to bring the Trojan horse into Troy. Or maybe built a Maginot Line with a 100-mile wide gap on the side for them to go for. But it most certainly is the genius that designed the exhaust port on the Death Star. Because I can't imagine that those three people would all be different. You can't. You have to be the same.
Oh, man.
It really is breaking my immersion, guys. I'm sitting there looking at Ebonhawk, and it's awesome, and it's this great fortification with no door. Imagine if the Stone Mist Castle had no door. That thing would fall in 2 seconds every time. It's breaking my immersion. What happened there?
Death Star, really? You had to go there?
It's the, you know what, I was brainstorming, like, what other fortifications were destroyed because of some foolish idiot doing something stupid to the fortification, and that was the one that immediately popped into my head. Like, you built this massive space station, but the single exhaust port could blow it up in one shot. And what does he do? Not only that, though, they know about this, right? They know about the exhaust port, because they put tons and tons of extra lasers in that particular trench to try and shoot down anybody going near it. So so who's the guy who saw that and said, oh yeah, the exhaust port. Oh crap, somebody could really blow up the Death Star if they accidentally, we don't need to fix it. Just put a bunch of lasers there and let's get out of the way. So, anyway.
Oh, man. Those are tall walls, too. You think they wouldn't have forgot something so important like the door.
Yeah, I just refuse to believe that the Char couldn't figure out. They built siege engines and massive engines of war, but then somebody at the end, hey, Sarge, I'm sorry. Hey, Sarge, can't we just go straight through that door? That's exactly what they want, Private! We can't simply walk through their empty wall. We have to take down the wall over here. That's the only way we can get in. Has to be.
And then they pile the dead bodies in there, and it's okay.
All right, all right.
I still think Ebonhawk is friggin' awesome.
Yes, it is. It's still awesome. Especially the vistas. Holy crap, some of those vistas are great.
Someone in chat, one does not simply walk into
That's exactly
Clearly.
That's great.
All right, all right. So, mailbag, ladies and gentlemen. This one is from Bulscu, Bulscu, and he writes, quote, "Hello, first of all, love your show. Amazing job, lovely intro, interesting discussions. Great job! I'd like you to shed some light on the issue of exploits and exploiters. Today I came to the point where I cannot find a no-exploit party for this dungeon, and it really kills me. Even people from my guild who don't want to do it properly. When I think I found a normal party, they quit when we hit the first mob because one guy said it's impossible to do without exploits. To be clear, it's possible. I did it a few times, but no one wants to do it that way anymore. What's worse, people just say these are hidden paths, and it's more like a jumping puzzle, and try to explain themselves away by the fact that all people do it. How can people even think it's intended to do to be things like 2 extra chests? What should I do? Report them all? What should ArenaNet do? Ban them? Is that a really good solution?" End quote. To be fair, to be complete, he was talking about the Citadel of Flame, specifically that dungeon itself, one of the Explorer modes, I guess, because that brings up a really interesting issue. Is you have a dungeon that's designed to be hard, and people have been asking for hard content, right? People want a challenge. And then when they have an easier way through that challenging dungeon, as he says, everybody takes it because they don't necessarily care about the challenge so much as the bigger challenge means bigger reward, and if I can get that bigger reward faster, that's all I care about.
I
Maybe?
don't think it's just that, though.
It's not that?
I think it's we're getting down to the fact where people have done these dungeons already, like multiple times, and they just want to farm their tokens now. And
They're not having fun anymore, is that what you're saying?
It's not that they're not having fun. It's just they don't want to. They've done this. They've done it in story mode, and now they've done it in explorer mode a few times. They want to find like the fastest way to get in there, get their stuff they want to get, and get out. And I don't know if it's exploiting. I think there's a lot of mob like bypassing you do. You just like run right through everything and like gotta get out of here. Don't kill him. Just run. Just keep going to the boss.
Yeah,
And
I heard that one.
I don't know if that's exploiting it. What was that Citadel of Flames exploit thing you're talking about?
I remember
was that
reading
fixed?
there was one where you could basically kite the mob for all, like there was this boss that you had, or there was this guy you had to escort, I think, and you could kite all the mobs away from him, and he would just run through and get to the end and like finish the event instead of having to fight your way through all the guys you were supposed to fight your way through. So they changed it so that he would automatically fight instead of just running, so you couldn't just kite everybody. And everybody was like, "What do you mean you can't do it?" Whatever. So I don't know. It's a difficult decision, but I think you're right. I think people have done it a couple of times. When you've done something a couple of times, it's probably not that much fun anymore to do it again. I think people just want to get through it, just like you're saying. I think the token numbers are too high.
Well, that's why they're going to buff token numbers. Like they're buffing how many tokens
Or
you
too
get.
low, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly, as you're pointing out.
Because they'd actually, like, I think it was John Peters said it. He's like, yeah, we don't want it to be, like, farmy. We just want you guys to, like, happen to, like, oh, I can get a cool piece of gear now. I've done this enough. Like, I don't think they want to be like, I have to farm this out for the next 4 weeks. I got to get in there and farm.
Pre-Immortal says the exploit is you jump over a wall and get 2 end chests instead of 1, and you skip the kiting room. I'm really interested to find out how jumping over a wall gets you 2 chests. Like,
That's
what
straight up
mechanically is
exploit.
happening there? That's weird.
Yeah, that's straight up exploit. If you're getting more of something than originally was intended, then you're breaking the game. And that's, like, almost ban level. That's like the weapon vendor thing they had a while ago, like the last week.
Yeah, it's one thing to try and find your way through a dungeon a little faster. Everybody's trying to do that. It's another thing to like figure out some weird way that glitches it to give you like a ton of extra loot that you didn't actually earn. But back to the whole thing. I mean, how many hours should you have to spend in a dungeon in order to get something? I mean, at this point, the number is pretty high, it seems, especially if these dungeons are multiple hours long. Or maybe it's faster than that once you get to know it? I don't know.
I've done AC 3 times, Escalating Catacombs. I think I'm halfway to 1 item, I think.
Oh, that's too much, I think.
And that's like six runs for one piece of a set, plus like all the weapons and stuff you can get from it, and then like if you ever want a legendary, you got to do it again to get like Gift of Ascalon or something like that. So that's going to be a lot of runs right there, and that's thankfully they're upping the tokens a little bit. I don't know if like spending your time in dungeons is equivalent to like skill of hard like difficulty stuff. So maybe if they buff the instances a little bit more and make more tokens come out of it, there could be a nice trade-off there. I don't know.
Freelancer, what do you think?
Tangent.
I haven't run too many dungeons myself, so I don't really have an opinion on it. But I know with COF, it was a huge thing for my guild. Like when we were, I'm in doing World v World. If I'm not doing World v World, I'm queued for it. But I always pressed, the guild tab and looked, and everybody's running Citadel of Flame. And for the molten lodestones that were coming out of that, I'm guilty of manipulating that market. I mean, they were running for 5-10 silver a piece. When I heard they were getting nerfed, I bought over 5,000 of them. But there shouldn't be. I mean, there's one thing if ArenaNet. See, this is where I fall into. If ArenaNet developers placed prices, placed pathways, placed any sort of content in the game, and you were playing through that content, and you were doing so in a manner that is most efficient, or you're trying to be most efficient at it, I don't think that's the player's fault for doing that. It's like when that weapon exploit incident happened. Now, there's a difference between somebody buying a bunch of weapons that are clearly supposed to be 21,000 karma, whatever they were supposed to be. There's a difference between you looking at a list of weapons and seeing one of them accidentally doesn't have the 3 zeros on the end. That's a very clear, obvious mistake by ArenaNet. But there are other things that players are claiming exploit, such as running COF, pulling certain mobs. I mean, I come from progression rating, and wow, I mean, pulling certain mobs per the mechanics that's what it's all about.
Yep.
That's going to be natural. I don't think that's an exploit. I mean, and if ArenaNet was going to turn around and ban people for it, I think they should friggin' ban themselves. They designed that particular dungeon. I mean, they're the one that made that pull the way it is. I mean, that's my stance on it. Now, if somebody is breaking the mechanics, if somebody is let's say that pulling a mob made those mobs freeze where they wouldn't attack you anymore, or pulling or going to this certain door triggered the wrong event and therefore allowed you to do something with zero effort whatsoever, then there's a difference. What I'm trying to say is that there's a difference between people screaming exploit at the first sign of efficiency in gaming and a real exploit. And
it depends on the obviousness of a bug involved in whatever you're talking about. If you've got a bug, like you said, 21 versus 20,000 for all the other items with the other 3 zeros, there's an obvious, clear problem there that is not part of the design. You don't have to be part of the ArenaNet development team to know that's wrong. You also don't have to be part of the ArenaNet development team to realize that if all the monsters stop attacking you when you do this specific thing and they let you go through to the end because of some weird bug, that's very clearly not by design. I agree with you 100% there. Blame the player, blame the designer, not the player, for trying to play their best, unless it's something really clearly obvious the player should know better than to do.
Yeah, and there's a few very big examples where ArenaNet just fixed it. They understand they made the mistake and just turned around and fixed the prices. A good example would be the food items, the cooking items, right? They were set at certain values. They were clearly the defined values that ArenaNet wanted to put in. What ArenaNet did not expect, with millions of players playing, was that certain players were going to find out that if they manipulate the karma and sell them for a certain profit, they would make a decent amount of money. It was not to the point where you had infinite karma. You were still limited by your resources. But the numbers, once ArenaNet looked at them, they said this is a bit out of the range of what we want a player to be able to make. So they adjusted it. Nobody got banned. Hundreds of people got called out for being exploiters, but not a single person was banned for it. Not a single person was removed for the game or anything like that. ArenaNet just simply stepped in and said, look, we set our numbers the wrong way. Not to the point of 21 karma versus 21,000. It's just we didn't adjust it the way, to keep it balanced. And there's more examples of that all around. Now, an exploit to me is something that is clearly, number one, ArenaNet has already said that's not intentional. You have so many players that, oh, well, it's in the game, it's not an exploit, and I haven't been told anything. Well, they also don't read forums, they don't read Twitters, etc. A great example of exploit would be like the World v World, the error card exploit. On a lot of different servers was tossed around. And it wasn't just, of course, some of the henge guilds got called out for it, but it was all over. Basically, you could run into Stone Mist and place error carts on the bottom floor and AoE target the top floor and kill the guild or the keep lord there from the bottom floor without ever going upstairs to engage the keep lord. Now, let's look at this in perspective. What is the design of Stone Mist? The idea of Stone Mist, the way the game developers designed it to be, is that you run in, you have this big, nice open battle in the bottom floor, and then there's two entrances going up to the top where there's, I'm sure there's a name for it in architecture, but there's that area up top on top of the second floor where people can defend.
The sort of balcony area.
Yeah, the balcony area on the interior, and you're supposed to have this big epic battle in there where you can be defensible and defend it. Well, that was the design of it. The key word is design. That's what ArenaNet intended for Stone Mist. Well, unfortunately, you had a lot of guilds that figured out the bug. All right, well, this is the point where a bug turns into an exploit. It's one thing where a player finds out, oh, if I lay an error card and I'm attacking these players, oh, wait, I could target the ceiling. Let me go ahead and try that. Oh, wait, I'm hitting the castle lord. Oh, this is neat. I wonder if we build more arrow carts, if we can take down the castle lord. This is the point where a bug turns into an exploit, which is not against the developer, or not is against the developer's wishes of that particular scenario. They have since acknowledged it. They put out a big Twitter thing on it, on a post about it. They moved the castle lord to the bottom floor, and now Stone Mist just isn't as special as it was. On top of that, they nerfed Stone Mist by reducing it from 50 points to 35 points because it's a lot easier to take the middle now. I mean, this is because of exploiters. Don't kid yourself. This is why they did this. Their original design for Stone Mist was to be this spiral attack going up, and unfortunately,
it might go back up there if they figure out a way to prevent that from happening. I think they want the floor to have that grating look so that you can see down into the first floor. And I think that's part of the problem, because I don't think that same thing happens if, for example, you've got two floors in a keep or something like that. You can't target the ceiling of the stone and have the exact same thing happen, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure it's unique to the way that Stone Mist is built. So maybe they'll figure out a way to fix it, or maybe they'll just leave it that way. But I agree with you. It got less epic now that they've fixed it like that.
Yeah, it did.
It's also hard to hold, right? Because now there's 3 entrances to where the Keep Lord is.
Yeah.
And upstairs there was only one way. They're like, they're coming in here, guys. Get ready.
Yeah, and that was the big thing. When they dropped the Keep Lord down, I'm sure one developer was like, look how easy it is to take now. Especially, let's imagine two different servers are going in there evading, right? You have 3 different entrances. It's just mass chaos. At that point you have to say, okay, well, maybe this point isn't as important anymore, or isn't as defensible anymore, so we need to adjust the point income because of it, which is a shame, because Stone Mist was friggin' awesome.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it was worth
it's still
it.
pretty awesome, but yeah, I agree with you. It's less epic than it was. I kind of wish they'd change it back. I don't mind that it's 35 points. I think that makes it a little bit better. I mean, 40 points, that would be okay too. I think 50 was a little bit too much, especially if, like you said, it was very hard to take and therefore very satisfying when you could take it, but it also meant that the team that got there first and managed to secure it with a ton of siege at the top at the very beginning of a week would probably be able to hold it all night, no problem. And as long as they had somebody guarding it, they would probably be able to hold it pretty well, unless it was a super determined attack. But a super determined attack means that most of the server would be on their way in there, so it would be, it was kind of a situation where, oh, they've got it, let's not even bother. And so that made it that it's a really cool thing, but we're not going to fight over it, because if it's defended, we don't want to bother coming in with, 6-to-1 odds or what have you. But anyway, I still want to bring it back to this thing where, for me, I don't think I could run the same dungeon more than 3 times in like a month. Like, I would just get way too bored. And for me, the opportunity cost is, well, I could be playing World v World. I could be playing PvP. I could be playing FTL or some other game, rather than playing the same exact thing that isn't interesting to me anymore because I've already figured out all the nuances.
like here, I think it goes a lot against their philosophy too of what Guild Wars 2 is. Because Guild Wars 2 for me is a game that I don't need to play constantly to be like competitive and play at like a level I want to play at. I can go play my other games because like the next few months are going to be crazy with so many other games coming out. So I can go play some other things and come back to Guild Wars 2 every night and play for like a couple hours and not feel like I'm so far behind already because I haven't been able to run dungeons all day. And I feel that having to run a dungeon 6 times to get a piece of armor is a little crazy. And that if people are looking to get a full Ascalon set or something, they have to run it like what? 20, 30 times at that point just to get that that whole set.
But there are people that want to do that, and I never understand those people. But I mean, so you have to put. I mean, that's probably the reason that ArenaNet made those numbers so high, is because people demanded repetitive content that would be the end game, quote unquote. You know, there are people that why not have raids? I want to do the same thing over and over again every night. You know, well, world versus world. Huh. No, it's not the same. It's not the same. No, people actually are different. If you had like intelligent AI that would react differently each time I ran a dungeon, that would be way cool. I mean, like, I've always imagined the best, coolest dungeon. I think I've talked this on the show before, of like a Left 4 Dead style, you know, competition mode where, you know, you have some players playing as the mobs that are trying to prevent you, griefing you, and preventing you from getting through the dungeon, or maybe just playing as the bosses, and that way you have a different experience every time because you have actual, you know, intelligent players trying to set traps and ambushes and trying to figure out the best way to do things. Like, I don't know, that would be a really cool thing. Probably not possible in Guild Wars 2 though. Man, I don't know.
I want to play Hunger Games in Guild Wars 2 again.
Oh yeah? That was awesome. I really hope they bring it back for
or the zombie game. I mean, any one of them.
October's coming up.
That's true.
Yeah, true.
Halloween.
Yeah.
That's true.
ArenaNet, I know you're listening. You need to have a hot join zombie game. That'd be friggin' awesome.
Yes. Yes. All right, but I guess the final thing here before we go is I want to quickly give a shout out to the High Guard. They sent me a request. That is a guild here that has many different games. As you can see on their website, it looks like they've come from SWTOR, Minecraft, League of Legends, World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, and they have a Guild Wars 2 division as well here. And I don't think we talked about them before, but I hope that we didn't talk about them 2 weeks ago. But the High Guard is getting another shout out just in case, because they were on my list. So I'm throwing them in here. That is thehighguard.shivtr.com. SWTOR. I'm not
Shifter. It's like Engine. It's like another one of those.
Right, it's another one of those. I'm
guild hosting sites.
All right, so quick shout out to those guys. There's a link to that in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. By the way, all of the show notes here are available. For example, the Mike O'Brien link. There's also the link to download the cool audio file that everybody always asks for. Like, oh, how do I get that cool thing? The cool, awesome rock. That was the best song ever. How do I put that on my phone? You know, like I did, so that I can sound cool when I'm at work. You're like, oh yeah, let me just answer my phone because
I have the X-Files theme. Oh. I'm cooler than you.
Oh man, X-Files.
No fair.
So,
that's like 10.
Oh, my green screen's falling down.
That's so long ago.
I always get comments when my phone rings because of the X-Files theme playing. I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd.
Is that my phone ringing or is that the end of the episode? I think that's the end of the episode this time.
It's aliens, man. Aliens.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy this heavily edited version of Tales of Tyria number 50. Remember, next week we are not going to be doing the show on Sunday. We will be skipping next week, taking a little time off. I am Bridger, signing off for these guys. Have a good night.
See y'all.
You have to name the episode more.
Not saying it's aliens. But it's
aliens.
Oh, man. So, Fairana came in to get into the queue for World v World because when we do the show, she never gets in to get the queue, but she knocked my green screen out of alignment. So now I got the. It's got a hole up here. Like, what is this?
You got to get that fixed for Tales of
You want to talk Araxis?
Oh, wow, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Whoa. Name dropping here. Tales of Araxis. There you go.
The music was too loud again? That didn't make any sense. I know why the music was too loud, because you know how XSplit has a microphone jack, a microphone and a speaker input on the little sound thing there? I use only the microphone and I mix it with my mixer, so it's picking all the sound from my mixer. So normally what I hear in my headset exactly what the audience hears. I had the microphone turned on and unmuted, which means when I did my rant, didn't matter what I set my slider to on my mixer, they heard it at full blast coming through XSplit, which is unfortunate. But I can edit that. We'll fix it in post.
Bridger, you have the name for your episode now.
What's that? Aliens?
More doors. More doors than aliens.
More doors. Oh man, aliens. That's classic. Oh man, I want to go play some Planetside too.
I want to watch X-Files now. I don't know about you.
You know what I found out? A-Rob never saw Firefly. What? Or Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. I told
What's
him,
his name in Guild? I'm fixing this.
I told him today. I said, wait, what do you mean you've never seen... Because I showed him an Imager, funny picture that had to do with Firefly. It was some old, sci-fi thing where some guy's, like, pulling grenades out of a thing on some kind of old sci-fi black and white show. And it was some guy, with commenting, like, what? Whoever needs grenades on a spaceship? And then it shows Jane yelling at Mal, gee, it would have been great if we had grenades right about now. And I laughed. And so I sent it to Rob. Hey, Rob, he's like, what's this? I don't even... I'm like, you gotta be fucking
That
kidding
sounds
me.
like A-Rob. That just sounds like him.
And then I found out he never even seen Dr. Horrible. What the hell?
I think that's overrated. That's just me though, and
Oh,
I get a
come
lot
on,
of
I
flack
got the whole
for saying
soundtrack
that.
on my iPhone.
I get a lot of flack for saying that.
With my freeze ray, I will stop the world, etc. Although my favorite one is the it's the hero one where he's standing up there telling all the hobos they can be heroes too.
Oh,
It may not
man.
be too classy, begging just to eat, but you know who does that? Lassie. And she always gets a treat.
Wow, you got that beautiful singing voice. You're like on
'Cause
tone
you-
there. The many hidden
Bridger took drama while he was in high school.
I did, actually. This is true.
Did you?
Oh, I was just guessing.
Wow. I was in chorus, too, actually. It was a good time.
Yeah, Firefly. I mean, it's on Netflix, Amazon. I've been using Amazon Prime a lot more than Netflix these days. But
I was thinking about
Oh
doing that.
yeah, man.
I really love Amazon Prime. I don't know why. I guess because everything's like you have high def options. Netflix, you never have high def. So, and I'm a big Amazon user anyway. And Team Legacy has our little sponsor thing with Amazon. So,
So you
trying
kick
out
back
Amazon
to yourself.
Yeah, well, I tried it out. Like, what is, I'm on my PS3, and it's got a little, you go to the video thing, and it's got Netflix and Amazon. I'm like, you know what? I've never used Amazon Prime. Let me try this out. And it turns out all of the shows I normally watch on Netflix are on Amazon Prime, but you have the high def version. So, yeah, free advertisement for them. I thought it was pretty cool.
That's true. I looked at Amazon Prime, but they don't have the newest episodes of the shows that I want to watch. I want to watch Castle, and I want to watch
But they have the
Mental.
newest movies, like Hunger Games is on there. So my wife and all of her friends watch that. I mean, there's no way that'll be on Netflix within the next year. I mean,
Never.
It's possible.
Like, never.
All the
That will
studios
never
hate
be on
Netflix. They're pulling away from Netflix, too.
yeah, they are. There's a lot of press about that right now.
And
Didn't they,
that's
like,
really too bad. I love Netflix.
Wasn't there like a split, and isn't there like a new company that handles one of the parts of Netflix now?
That was like gonna happen, but then it didn't happen, but then it did happen. And
That was like the video game thing. Netflix was going to have a video game.
Well, they already
you know.
do. Isn't GameFly owned by Netflix? I always thought it was.
And
Maybe I'm wrong.
I've been hearing a lot of chatter about GameFly. That thing sucks right now, from what I'm hearing.
Really?
Like, it is pretty terrible.
Well, yeah,
Like-
because you're using it for console games. Of course it's stupid.
That's about as silly as like saying that you own an Xbox 360.
Yeah.
I own
well,
one. I'll quit digging out.
I own a media PC in my that has the Xbox 360 logo on it, but I don't use it for gaming. I don't do that.
It makes a nice paperweight, huh?
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's really disappointing because
It does. Make
when
a nice paperweight.
I would like to. It makes a very hot paperweight.
Oh, man.
Temperature
That's all
wise.
it is now.
So I really want to pay for content, right? I love Castle. I love that show. I want to if it was reasonably priced, like here's this, you can buy this season or buy them on episode by episode basis or what have you, and it was like $1 or $2 an episode, even maybe 250. That's kind of pushing it though. But I mean, 250 is what you usually rent a movie for. So I'm thinking like $1 an episode just to rent I don't need to have the whole season to buy it forever. I just want to watch it once. But you go to Hulu, it's not there. Well, actually, Castle's on Hulu. That's one of the only ones, so never mind. CBS is the people that never put any of their shows on Hulu or anywhere online. Can't watch anything on CBS. So we want to watch The Mentalist? Nope, can't do it. Only option is har diddly dee. Being a pirate is okay to me.
That didn't give it away.
No, that's just my favorite place where I go to rent movies.
I love that song. I sing that
It's
song all the
It's a
time.
good store.
Mentalist is a good show.
I like The Mentalist. It's fun.
It has the same. I don't know. It has that same intellectual draw as House did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the same
Like
concept, kind of, too.
It really is. That's why I think that's why I kind of gravitated towards Mentalist after I watched House.
With a title like that, is it about a mesmer? Is that what it's about?
That's the other reason that... No, the premise is this, and if you watch... It's not really a spoiler, because it's the first episode. Sets up the whole show, is there is a guy who's basically like a John Edwards, talks to dead people, to relatives. He's basically a cold reader, right? But a lot of people believe that he can really talk to ghosts. Well, he goes on one of these daytime talk shows like Maury or one of those other ones, and he says, I'm working with the police to help catch this serial killer named Red John. And this serial killer's been going and killing people, and after he kills people, his call sign is he paints a smiley face in blood. Right? And so the host says, so what do you do when you try to help the police catch this guy? Because he's still pretending he's a real psychic and he can see. He says, I search and I see Red John. I can see his soul, and it's black and it's evil, it's decrepit, and it's blah blah blah. He basically says terrible things about Red John's soul. Performing. He's a performer. That's what he's trying to do. He's pretending. But after that show, he comes home and finds a note on the door to his bedroom that says, I was very hurt by all the things that you said about me tonight. Maybe, and if you were truly a psychic, you'd know what lies beyond this door. And he opens the door and you just see the red symbol, the red face on the wall. Mm-hmm. And that, bam, then you know exactly what just happened there. He now is given up trying to pretend he's a psychic. He's done with that. He wants to work with the police to help hunt him down. And he uses his cold reading abilities to basically fool people into thinking that he knows things that he doesn't know, and gets them to misstep and say things that they shouldn't say that reveal who they are and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of that show my wife likes, The Closer. I don't know much about the show, but it's about manipulating the criminals and stuff. But yep, Mentalist is an awesome show, though. Definitely recommend it. And I think the closing notes of this after show talk should be: if you have not watched Firefly yet, something is wrong with you.
Remedy that shit.
It's like 12 episodes, right?
It's 14. 14.
Yeah.
14 and a movie.
And a movie.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there are
Do you watch the movie after the show?
After. Definitely watch the movie
yes.
after. It closes everything out. I think that out of all of the TV shows ever, not just sci-fi, everything I've ever watched, there is not a single show that I can say this about except Firefly. And I can say with full confidence that I like every single one of those episodes and the movie almost equally, and they're almost all awesome.
I can say with full confidence they truly made a mistake canceling the show.
Absolutely.
Like whoever does the foreseeing the future of their company and advertisements and money, they made the wrong decision. Like somebody just really dropped the ball there.
Was that Fox?
Man. It was Fox.
And
of course it was Fox.
It's only seen not by what people like us say about it, but by just the mass cult following. When a show, a TV show or a movie is able to develop a cult following, that's something that should be nurtured. That's not something that should be canceled.
Well,
it's the ratings that didn't get. It's because of the marketing of it, and not only that, when it came out, they set up like an hour and a half long, 2-episode pilot essentially that introduced all the characters. This was designed to get you into A, the universe that it's set in, and B, all the characters and get who they are. But they said, no, it's too boring, there's not enough action, we're going to jump and start with episode 2. So they premiered episode 2, which assumes you know a little bit about the characters.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's weird. You know what also suffered from a lack of marketing and really getting the show out there was Arrested Development suffered heavily from that. Like, that show was award-winning on so many levels and has a cult following probably just as large as Firefly. And it's actually coming back now, but, like, it was brought off. After 3 seasons, they said, oh, you're not doing well. You're not getting viewers. And, like, there's this famous clip by, I think, David Cross, where he's, like, just going crazy. He's just like, you have a show that's winning all these awards, getting all this press, having all these great reviews, people love this show, all these fans and stuff like that, and you can't market that? How can you not market that? You guys fail at it. I gotta find that.
Absolutely. Oh, man. All right. I gotta decide if I'm gonna go play Guild Wars 2 or Planetside 2. I'm gonna play a sequel of something. I don't know what yet. Oh, man. I think they need me in World vs. World. Although we're probably queued up for 2 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can get in there, good luck.
Yeah, it's
short.
maybe too late at this point.
Free shave his beard off?
Fayrana wants to know if you shaved your beard off. Yeah. Yes.
No, it's still here.
It's
just
still there.
yeah, it's just you know,
tiny
2 millimeters long.
2 millimeters long. All right. So, yeah, definitely go watch Firefly, guys. If you have not seen it, 100%. Just go buy the DVD. If you can't get it on, if you don't have Netflix, you don't have something else, just buy the DVD. 100% confidence you will like it, period. So good. The characters are amazing. The actors are great. The writing is phenomenal. Oh.
And so all of you live fans that watch the show live, this is like a little fun thing for you guys, because this likely won't be in the YouTube video after. But TL, Bridger, myself, we're big fans of large-scale combat games. And the next big one that we plan on doing, which we are since started recruiting for, which doesn't have the strict requirements of Guild Wars 2, is Planetside 2. And I think, Bridger, you plan on kicking off a podcast for that, right?
I'm thinking so. I'm thinking we're gonna do a
we're
channel
still
with
throwing it around, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't change the fact that you are super stoked for the game, right?
Yes, definitely. I'm having a ton of fun in it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of, you know, when you get in a squad that's working together and you get medics, you get at least like 2 or 3 medics, you get a couple engineers, you get some heavies, and everybody does their job, it can be an amazing experience. You know, you make your way into a base in like a Sunderer, and the Sunderer parks in the right place, and it sets up, and you've got air support overhead, and you're on voice comms. Everybody's on voice comms, and they tell you scythe incoming from the west, and the air support comes screaming in to help you out and chase the scythe away, you know, and then all of a sudden you go and you make your way into the base, and suddenly somebody opens up from a window, and tons of supporting fire come from your teammates to shut down the window, but he already got, you know, sniper got 2 people, the medics come over and res people, now there's an enemy max there, and all of a sudden, you know, you have to, there's a max, throw grenades! 3 grenades go out to the max, and it finally goes down, not before it kills a bunch of your guys, and you get to the point, you secure it, you've got to hold it for a while, so the engineers set up turrets, guarding all the stairwells and stuff. Oh man, it's fucking awesome.
That's going to be free to play, right?
A couple things to point out to everybody listening, and we'll definitely talk about this later, is this isn't going to have the uber strict recruiting of the Guild Wars 2 guild. But if you don't know about Planetside 2, this is basically what Battlefield 3 should have been. I've had many of our guild members already call it Guild Wars 2 World v. World in space, because it involves the same coordination and organization as that. But we're not giving up Guild Wars 2 by a long shot. But what we do understand is that 5 months down the road, we're going to be wanting to play other games on the side. You can't 24/7 play Guild Wars 2. I don't know, maybe I'll get flamed for saying that, but but a lot of our members are going to be popping over. But what we really want to do with this, what they call them outfits, right, Bridger? And
Yes,
Planetside?
outfits.
Right. So this outfit, I think we're calling it something along the lines of the Collective. It's going to be like the themed outlet where we have fun time with like a whole lot of Vanu themes. It's going to be a big community thing. So if you're a Tales of Tyria fan, yeah, you're not looking to join a super strict type thing. You just want to have a bunch of fun. That's exactly what we're aiming with this. So that's a little hidden recruitment. You know, join the gang and join Bridger's lead as he rants about the game type deal. So
yeah. But to put it in perspective too, and I don't know how they did it, but they've seemed to have done a better job with the engine than Guild Wars 2 did with World vs. World. I hate to say it, but it seems to be true.
You know, I got one thing about that, Bridger. All right, Planetside 2, literally, because me and you both have seen it. I was a huge skeptic until I got in, watched you play on your stream, got in myself, and you could literally see 200 players, 400 players, going at each other, all over the map at all times. Why is it that in Planetside you can have 2,000 versus, or we'll say what?
It's
600?
2,000 players on the entire continent, so it's about 666 per faction is their.
Okay,
is what their
666 on each side with a physics engine involved, more vehicles, much larger map.
64 kilometers squared. 64
Yeah, now
kilometers.
why can you do that in Planetside and not in World v. World and Guild Wars 2?
Different engine.
Definitely a
You
different
think,
engine.
you think it really just comes down to the engine?
It does. Like, I'm gonna look up what engine PlanetSide 2 is using.
I think they made it themselves for that game specifically.
Forge Light engine
Yeah.
constructed by SOE. Yeah, so Sony made that themselves. Like EverQuest.
That engine is actually going to run EverQuest 3 and other stuff too. If I
Actually,
recall correctly.
Monster in chat, he has a huge point. I think he's right on the money. He says character customization. Think about it. You're not dealing with 20,000 different models. Probably
That's
got different
true.
types of
Everybody's wearing the
weapons
same armor, basically. You
and
got the
armor
5
and
classes
such.
per side.
Yeah. So I think he might be onto something. I mean, that may be just it. I mean, imagine in Guild Wars 2 when you have to render in 200 players on your screen, all of the different weapons and armors and such that they have on them.
Spell effects.
Spell effects. Yeah,
man.
so that's a good point.
That's actually a really good point, because I think one of the things I read through actually one of the devs responding to the whole the characters appearing and disappearing, like the clipping issues in World versus World, and they said one of the problems with that is the point at which this is partly a networking thing in Guild Wars 2 specifically. So instead of having to tell the client the 400, all the positions of everyone around him and where to render them all the time, it basically leaves out, only the closest 100 people. So if there's more than 100 people around your area, it'll leave out the rest so that it doesn't clog your network, and it can be and so that their servers have less stress on them because they're sending out less packets, right? Because they don't have to send all the information to everyone. They send less information to everyone. Now, from the point at which your computer is told, hey, new guy just came into range, you should render him, to the point where he starts getting rendered is not instantaneous. It's not the same. So the game might start sending you information about a new guy that should be fading in immediately, but he doesn't fade in for another 5 or 10 seconds because he's coming with 50 other people, and your computer has to load all of those models and things, all the textures simultaneously. And so that's why usually if you're seeing just 5 people at a distance, they'll all load in very quickly. But if you see 50 people at a distance, the time between when they start sending you all this information about the 50 people and the time your computer starts loading them in is much longer because it has to load more information. So the delay is longer. I think that's how he explained it.
That's why you also have like the Invisible Man syndrome of like where you can see somebody's targeting name and like their nameplate, and you can click on them, but they're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Like their model has not loaded. Like that's happened to me a few times. Like they'll just pop up next to me and they'll see their nameplate. I'm like, oh, I can target you, because if you don't have your option enabled of what is that option? Show all player names in under options. If you don't have that clicked in your World World, you're missing out because
I gotta turn that on.
Yeah, you gotta be able to see where everyone is chilling, and like you can see them hanging around corners and underwater and stuff like that when you have that on.
I kind of feel like they just need a placeholder thing for something like the LOD, so that in World versus World, even if you have some cool looking armor, your enemies won't be able to see it until you get close enough if there's a ton of people or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
What I think it comes down to, though, for Planetside and Guild Wars is that it sounds like they made like an entirely new engine for Planetside, so that engine is going to be definitely made for like what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Whereas with Guild Wars 2, they took the Guild Wars 1 engine and a couple other sort of like rendering things, mushed them together, and made a much more updated version of that old engine, which never had that idea of like, oh, we're going to have like 200 people fighting it out right now on screen. Like, I don't think that was a original design goal of the engine, like way back in like 2003 when they originally made it. But then also, this game is much more aesthetically, like, it's much more on a artistic level, looks a lot prettier, and like they have a style that they want to nail.
Yeah, they're two different artistic styles for sure, but until you go out in the night, I mean, Bridger, every time he goes out in the night sky with anything, he's just is like gaping, like, look at all that.
Look at the moons, man, the moons. But my favorite thing is when you're at like a facility or something, and an enemy plane flies over, and everything in the base lights up the night sky with tracers trying to shoot down this plane. It looks
that's
so
gotta be a
cool,
blast.
so cool. Oh, I can't get over it. You know what though? I've been streaming a little bit of it on Bridger 15, and I'll stream some more tonight if you guys want to see it. Does anybody in chat want to see what it looks like? It's in closed beta, but open beta's got to be coming in the next couple of months.
How's it running? Like, how is that game running right now? Like, performance-wise?
It's actually surprisingly good. I can run it on high with the biggest battles with no problem, but it appears that the high-res textures are not in for everything. Like, you look down at the ground, and a lot of that's really low-res. So we'll see. Hit registration is surprisingly good from my point of view. Freelance, have you had any issues with hit registration?
Not at all, actually. And I snipe a lot. So if anybody's gonna have, if anybody's gonna complain, I will be the guy. But no, I've had no issues. Even leading shots. I mean, it really feels like the sniper rifle you start with anyway on Vanu's side. Which, by the way, anybody wanting to join us, this is another one of those games we play when we're waiting for World v World and Guild Wars 2. We both stream. I'm typing out mine in chat. Maybe you could do the same, Bridger. Type out your Twitch.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. But with both of these, you could join us anytime, but just keep in mind we play the Vanu because clearly they're the superior.
No. The Terran Republic is clearly superior. I mean, red beats purple all the time. I'm pretty sure that's how the Elementalist versus Mesmer debate goes. So there you go.
Hovering tanks beat anything. Going vertically up a mountain beats other things.
Okay.
I mean,
My tank has two guns on it. Double guns.
I thought
Boom,
it
boom,
was like
boom.
standardized.
your tank is restricted to roads. Mine is not.
Yeah, but my tank can sit in one place and reload super fast. Boom, 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 boom. No, great. There are certain equipment that is standardized. The Liberator, which is like a vertical takeoff and landing gunship, that is the same across all factions. The
Isn't
Galaxy
that where people spawn and stuff like that?
Huh?
Don't they spawn on the Liberator?
No,
Like, is
the
that a spawn
Galaxy
point?
is what you're thinking of, but
Okay.
it's not the same anymore. Things are changing, but
Oh, really?
The Galaxy is not a spawn point anymore, except for really dedicated Galaxy pilots that spend a lot of certification points on it. So there's like 4 or 5. There's the Flash, which is the 4-wheeler ATV thing, the Sunderer, the Liberator, and the Galaxy, and the Lightning, which is the light tank. Those are all the same across all the factions. The main battle tank, the light single-seat aircraft, and what else is? And all the weapons are very faction-specific. So the Terran are all about more things faster in the air at your opponent. So their tank has 2 guns on it, and it has a deployable mode where it will reload faster, so you can just unload really fast. But it's not nearly as good accuracy, and it doesn't hit nearly as hard. The new Conglomerate, they're all about punching really hard, but being sort of less high rate of
Accurate.
fire, and a little bit less accurate. The Vanu usually have higher accuracy on their weapons, but sort of medium damage and medium rate of fire.
Well, no. All the Vanu are pinpoint accurate. They always hit where your crosshair goes.
Because they're like lasers or kind of weird.
They go laser
pulse.
pew pew, and that's their advantage. Now their disadvantage is the Vanu heavily rely on the fact that because they are lasers, they lose energy over distance.
Yes, that's the other
So, like sniper rifles, even at extreme distances, whereas New Conglomerate and Terran Republic, their sniper rifles have a drop. The bullets physically drop over distance, like you'd expect. They still do full damage at extreme distances. They don't lose velocity. Now,
Well, they probably do, but not
Vanu-
nearly at the rate that the Vanu does.
Yeah, it's like a fraction. But the Vanu, you can aim miles away, and you don't have to raise or lower your gun for the bullet drop because it's not a bullet, it's a laser beam. And when you shoot, it will always hit your target. Now there is the trajectory. It still the little burst of laser still has to get over there, but depending on how far away you are, it'll be doing more or less damage. Now, Vanu weapons, what I've noticed is up close, they do a ton of damage. Like I've run around running and gunning with my sniper rifle. It's a ton of damage. You can 1 or 2 shot people in close range with the sniper rifle.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's just different mechanics, and they're trying to make each of the 3 factions unique to their own, and they're doing a good job over it. It makes for a nice distraction from Guild Wars 2 when you're waiting for those cues.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
the interesting stuff about that Vanu, I mean, like you were talking all about the Vanu, the NC, the new conglomerate, they're the ones that hit hard but slow. They start with a bolt action sniper rifle. That is the only sniper rifle that can one headshot. Yeah, it can one hit kill if you get a headshot, but you have to reload after every bullet, like bolt action style.
Yeah.
And so then the TR, they have a semi-automatic sniper rifle that doesn't do nearly as much damage, so you can get multiple hits really fast if you're good with it, and you can re-aim and, you know, you can hit, so you can aim for chest and go chest, 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 bam, they're dead, you know, from really long ranges. So it's really interesting stuff.
Yep.
And the
all right, before we wrap up, just hollering at everybody, if you want to join us, well, Guild Wars 2, you know where we're at, Eridon Terrace. There's the eridon-terrace.com website. You can also find us on the server there. But on Planetside, if you're looking to spend a little time away from the queues and such, I don't blame you. We are on Leda East server. You can find myself, Bridger, all the other cast members there, and all the other Tales of Tyria fans there, if you are in beta, that is.
Yeah, and they're slowly rolling out more beta keys to people, and including giving beta keys to people who are already in the game to give to their friends. And I think they're probably going to go to the next stage of rollout, because a lot of the servers, they have 3 servers now in the East and 3 in the 3 West servers, and they have a bunch of EU servers as well, I think, and they are all kind of empty some of the time during the day. So I'm thinking they're going to be getting more people into the beta soon enough.
What was I going to ask?
I hope so.
I totally forgot my question. It was Planetside 2 related, and I forget it already.
Did it have to do with sniper rifles?
No, I mean, I'm kind of glad to hear that they're doing some differentiation between the races, because when they showed it off at...
The factions? They're humans. They're all humans.
Whatever. They're races now. They're all different.
It's not racist if it's in space.
Sure it is. It can be racist in space. Sure you can.
That's a rule.
I think our after show has come to a close.
Yeah, let's just end on that. Racism in space next time.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. You can check us out, Bridger15. I'll probably be streaming in a bit. It'll be either Guild Wars 2 or Planetside. See you.
Yeah. I'm going to see the status on World v World.